Before being anything or anyone, before thought, before anything gets formulated, before you define yourself. In this moment, Everything is embraced, everything is interconnected as one pure presence, one breath. No division. The gentle light shining through onto everything. The breath. The body sensation. The hum of the heating unit. The passing thought. It's all seamless, without any division. It's impossible to separate the daylight from the breath, from the sound of the birds, from the hum of the heating unit. There's an absence of judgment. Even when a judgment arises, it's present, it's there to be witnessed, like you witness the light shining through the window. What happens within the body. The attempts to somehow grasp it, the attempts to somehow have it in a certain box, in a certain order that makes us feel secure, makes us feel safe. The thought may arise, where are we going? What are we trying to do? Is there somewhere besides this spacious presence a better place, a better way, a better experience? What is that? What is it that is believing all of that and feeling all of that and experiencing that something is lacking, something is off? What is it that's happening? We may find no answer, just a question suspended in the space, wondering. Is there someone that's in danger? What is this someone? How do you experience it? Sometimes it feels like sort of a train is just running on the tracks and it's not possible to stop it. But we may wonder, what is that? What is this train? What are the tracks? And who's trying to stop it? Sometimes we may feel the possibility of just sinking deeper into being, to just being. No worries, no concerns. Sort of letting be what is. And then we may hear the birds in the background, or the creaking of some parts of the house that creak. You may feel the breath, the depth of it, the stillness of it. And then a thought may pass by, an image, sensation. Is there any need to struggle, to argue? Is it possible to be this mystery, this full emptiness, this Not an image, not some idea, but just the silent mystery of presence. The wonder of it. You just feel the body. Just allowing it all to be. There isn't even an allowing. It's sort of noticing if anything is in the way. There is nothing in the way. What's in the way? What's in the way? Resting. It's sort of resting without anybody doing anything. It's odd, isn't it? Resting without somebody resting. But it is this way. Because whenever this somebody arises, it's some sort of movement, patterns, habits, wanting, desiring, regretting. It's more like the weather and internal weather systems, internal weather systems. What's the problem when we observe what is, embracing it all, not standing apart, because there's really no way to stand apart, just embracing it all. Embracing is a recognition in a way. It's recognizing that it's already embraced, it's already unfolding. It's an unfolding with nothing really unfolding. Because at the center it's still, at the core. Can we meet whatever is arising within us? And whatever is arising in our world, relationships, situations that arise, is it possible to meet everything that arises within and around us with that same embrace, the recognition that in a way it's all intimate, it's all intimately myself, it's all intimately the self, the universal display. That there is nobody coming at us, there's nothing coming at us, because we're not that separate from that, are we? It's only manifestation of myself in a way. In some mysterious way, by recognizing the other as myself, it facilitates for the other to recognize that very recognition. It sort of opens the way, facilitates the path. It's quite a different thing from when we are arguing and blaming and accusing and defending and attacking. Somehow it maintains that dynamic. It may occur, of course. And then the sun shines and the mist dissolves in the warmth of the rays of sun. Nothing to hold on to. There is a certain freedom in that. Freedom from images, freedom from grasping, seeking, and defending. A certain lightness. To be looking at that, to be looking in our life, how it is, what is possible, because there are possibilities. To disengage from the old pattern. And invite a certain freshness, a certain not knowing, to be okay with that. Then we may find that even in our feeling state, that there is this expansion, this possibility of expansion. Because it's not fixed, you see. The body, how we define it, it's not how it is. There's a definition. But you look in deep sleep, your body is so infinite. It's infinite, completely dissolved. Somehow within our body, not just, contemplation, but within our body, there's an embrace. The body is embracing everything. Naturally, it's embracing the daylight and the air, the breath, everything that's unfolding is embracing our body. It's not dense like we think of it. It's not defined or limited the way we think of it. It has so many possibilities, the potential of infinity. How separate are we? Is our body separate from the weather? Is our body separate from the earth? Is our body separate from the galaxies? How could it be? How could it be? It's all interconnected, you see. The entire cosmic system as one system. It's all interconnected. The movement in one part is felt throughout the entire system in a distant galaxy. But there is no distance, in fact. Distance is sort of an antithesis of love, distance. It's all completely intimate, at zero distance, no distance. One breath, one presence, one being, one reality, one truth, embracing everything. So I'm going to take Anne's question on the YouTube channel and write, "Hi Magdi, would you talk about any traps along the way, concern about being the witness, as although it feels peaceful, it's still subject and object?" I mean, rather than everything appearing to no one, belonging to no one. So, Anne, in terms of the witness, as opposed to everything appearing as no one to no one, when you look at your experience, not thinking about it, just looking directly in this moment, and if you look at the model of the observer and the observed, because it is a model, you know. When you look at that model of the observer and the observed in your direct experience this moment, do you find an observer and an observed outside of thinking about it, outside of thought, in your direct experience, before thinking about it? Do you find an observer and an observed? Or is it just wordless in a way? The experience of referred to as intimacy, complete intimacy, the intimacy of one. One way of saying it is that there is no distance between the observer and the observed. So they are one. The observed and the observer are one. But if they're one, then what are we talking about? What are we talking about, observer and observed, if they're one, if they're at zero distance of each other? So the witness is like the observer. The witness and that which is witnessed are one, which we refer to as witnessing. But what is the meaning of witnessing in the absence of duality, in the absence of separation? Similarly, what is the meaning of this is appearing to no one? What do you mean by no one? Because no one refers to someone. So there is someone and no one. But when there is no one, what is it that's talking about no one? What is this no one that we are talking about? When we say there is no one, there is the implication that there is someone and no one. Even in saying no one, you have to be watchful, because teachers use they use a language that is dualistic, but they use them not for the purpose for you to adopt their language, but for you to comprehend what they are saying. So a surgeon uses a tool to cure the patient, to operate on the patient, but it's not about the patient getting hold of the tool and making the tool their it's about being cured of the misunderstanding. So when you say this is appearing to no one, it's an oxymoron. How can something appear to no one? What do you mean by appearing? Before thinking about it. So appearing, one could say, is a thought. And so a thought is just passing. It's a passing, like a cloud. You don't hold on to it. You don't hold on to the cloud, do you? So the thought of this is appearing to no one appears to no one, to you, to whoever, to whatever appears, but you don't hold on to it like that. You hold on to a cloud. Just you observe it. You're not even observing it. It's passing. It's just passing. And then you find yourself thinking about dinner, thinking about tomorrow's schedule. And a second later, you're feeling some strain in your shoulders and you feel the need to rest. It's constantly shifting and dynamic and alive. There isn't any holding on, there isn't any magic formula. So when a teacher speaks about when you look for the personal observer, you don't find a personal observer, you only find thoughts. It's just talking to this belief that there is an actual something real that's in me. And all the thoughts, it's a package deal in a way. All the emotions, the worries about me, my life, my future, my body, my health, my money, my hair, my teeth, my retirement, my cat. It's all weather, it's all like the weather. But there isn't anything fixed about it. There isn't a fixed entity. There isn't someone and there isn't no one. It's neither someone nor no one. Sometimes we're holding on to someone and sometimes we're holding on to no one. What about just not holding on to anything, just being with it is. It's already being, already is. There's a peaceful quality to being because there isn't much mental activity about trying to figure anything out, you see. At the psychological level. At the world level, of course, we try to figure out this and that. In the absence of the psychological dynamics, it's all okay. There's a magic that provides. Like the rain and the sunshine and gravity and the atmosphere around the earth. There's a magic about it. The breath, perception, and the wonder of awareness, you see. So there is neither someone nor no one. Can you be okay with that? What would not be okay with that? Alexa, I'm going to address your question that you also write on YouTube channel. You say, "Hi Magdi, thank you in advance for taking my question. I feel as if I'm not just limited to this body, but I'm everywhere. Is this crazy? How do I feel my body's sensation when I'm not limited?" Well, Alexa, you feel your body sensations like you're feeling them right now. You're not limited. So you feel the weather, you feel the heat, you feel the cold, you feel the tiredness, you feel an itch You feel the mosquito that is hopefully not. You don't need to be a limited anything to feel. You see, sometimes we feel somebody's pain, right? We may be on the bus and we see maybe a mother with 3 children traveling alone. It's really hard, very young children. We may be sitting in the back of the bus and she may be sitting with her children on the front of the bus, like 40, 50 feet away. And we feel her. Sometimes we just glance in somebody's face and we feel their something about them, about their life. I'm not talking about projecting anything. Sometimes we project because we are feeling something within ourselves and we project it out. I'm talking about a certain transparency. Sometimes we hear something in the news and we feel something, we feel sorrow, we feel a certain pain. I'm not talking about judgment and thinking. I'm talking about just there's a transparency to feeling, you see. So it's not crazy for you to be feeling that you are everywhere. Because in fact, you are nowhere. You are neither somewhere nor everywhere. You just purely are. You just purely are. And being is not somewhere, you see. Being is not in the body. We could say that being appears as the birds hopping from branch to branch. Being appears as the wind moving the leaves of the tree, and appears as the sun shining on the surface of the pond. Being appears as breath. Being appears as sensation. Being appears as perception. Being appears as images, as thoughts. Being appears as sound. It doesn't appear in the body or in the room or in the yard or in the town or in the city or in the dungeon. Everything appears within being, one could say, or everything appears as being. That's another way of saying it, right? So it's like a cloud that appears as many different forms. You know, it appears as a dragon, as an angel, as a dog, as a puppy, as a duck. So you're not appearing inside of your body. You experience your body. Because you experience your body, therefore the experience of the body arises within you. You do not arise within the experience, right? So the body is an appearance. It appears to you. It appears to you as feelings, as sensations, as perceptions. It appears to you as hunger. It appears to you as tiredness. It also appears to you as the weather. It appears to you as the sky. That's also your body. You see, the earth, the sky, it's all our body. The oceans, the wind. It's all our body. So it's not like our body is everywhere. One could say that maybe everything is our body. That our body is not a limited thing, you see. Although we may think about it as a limited thing and we may feel it as that. It's okay. It's okay. But then when we look a little closer, and that's important to do your own looking, you see. You look a little closer and say, well, this body is appearing to me, right? It's appearing to me. The magic of appearance. And the magic of the self, of consciousness, that awareness, that yes, it's appearing to you. What is this you? It's a mystery, isn't it? It cannot be defined, cannot be described or comprehended. It is. You cannot deny. You cannot deny being, right? Presence, love, peace, beauty. You cannot deny that. It's there. You know it. You can sense it, you see. And it's embracing everything. It's arising as everything. It's a cosmic dance in a way. The cosmic dance of consciousness. And the I, when you say I, before you say Alexa, before you name the I as Alexa or Megdi or whatever, when you say I, aren't you referring to just a vastness? When you say I, not I Alexa. I Alexa is okay too, but when you just say I, isn't that it's a mystery, isn't it? Yeah. But yet we can't deny it. We can't deny I. I know I. I know I. I don't mean I Megdi, no I Megdi, no. I mean I know I. I know I. What else would I am I? I know I as I am I. So it's something wonderful about that. That I am I, and that in itself. But that's before being Alexa, before being somebody, before the name, before the identity. Just I, borderless presence. See, I is this borderless presence. It's undeniable. So just look at that. And see how that I is everything. Is the body, is the ocean, is the sky. Sometimes it's important to be Alexa in certain situations, at work or whatever, in some conditions. But outside of that, just recognize the I, recognize awareness, which is not separate from the hum of the refrigerator or the light shining on the kitchen table. Well, any question?
Magdi.
Yes, hello, Holly.
Hi, yeah, that's
Hello,
right.
Holly.
Hi. So I have a thought that's come up. I don't know, just it keeps coming up, so I want to present it to you. And the thought is like, oh, it's a sarcastic thought. It's being sarcastic. Oh, how convenient. I don't have to solve any of my problems. And it comes up in reference to the practice, because I still experience pain around problems, or personal problems, loneliness, shyness, things like that. And maybe it's a discounting thought on the part. Well, I mean, it's obviously a discounting thought on the part of the mind, but I don't know. It keeps coming up for me, this notion of, oh, wow, okay, so you found a practice where you don't have to consider your problems at all.
Well, if it works, that's great.
Right.
If in fact your problems somehow go away because you're not considering them because you have the practice, who is to argue about that?
Yeah.
But the fact is that it doesn't really work that way, right?
Right.
So when we say the practice, in a way, it's just this fresh looking, this moment. What's happening? What is going on this very moment? Is there some concern, some worry, some trouble? What is it? How is it appearing? What is the quality of it? What is the feel of it? What is the sense of it? Just to somehow to see it all, to feel it all, to be it all, to if there isn't an attempt to escape, but even when there is an attempt to escape, to see that, to notice that.
Yeah.
Or an attempt at crawling into a hole or hiding behind some belief, some image, something. Just to see that, because it's what's happening, and because we're looking freshly, there is an interest. There's an interest. And sometimes there isn't. Okay, well, that's okay then. It is what it is. But we're talking about the possibility of gathering one's energies in this moment and not to sort of dissipate them in the old patterns, to sort of come together now in a way, come together wholly with what's happening now, you see.
Yeah.
So then whatever problems there are, we're looking, we're examining. But sometimes we're thinking about our problems, which is, it's as if it's some way of avoiding just being with it.
Yeah.
So we think about it as a way of wiggling our way from just being with it. And I wonder also about the possibility of looking without labeling, you know, this sort of inquisitive, so fresh that it hasn't yet named or identified what it's looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of. It's so fresh and this freshness, there is all possibilities. We don't know. We don't know. We could slip back in the old pattern, or there could be completely new unfolding, completely new direction. We don't know. And in a way, we're just there with our interest. See? And our willingness, our willingness to be there, to be in this presence with whatever is happening. Because sometimes with problems we're carrying, it's like we're carrying something from last week or last month, or we sort of, or last, sometimes from years ago. We're just, it's as if we can't be in presence without bringing in all our past, you know, or big hunk of it. But then we wonder, like, what is actually happening right now, you see? And so we find that there is this whole possibility of just not knowing, and being in this inquiry, contemplation, looking, interest, with a sort of a willingness to discover and be discovered in a way that we have no idea what it is and what it's like. It's so much different from bringing our past, bringing our all our stories and images about ourselves. And in a way, it takes so much effort to do that. To remain in the crawled position, in the contracted position. It's an effort. It's so, you know, when you're relaxing, you're like, you know, you're like a jellyfish, you know. You're like you're not contracted. You'll spread yourself on the couch and it's more, it's easier, it's simpler. We defend, we contract our own images, and we bring them in our relationship with other, we carry that load, and it's a load for everybody. It's of course a load for oneself, but it's a load for the other to be dealing with your baggage. But then we wonder, like, is it possible to, even for a moment, to be the possibility of just presence, image free, not defending a position, not defending a story. With stories, we tell a lot of stories to ourselves, you see. But my problems, and I'm like this and like that, and this and that. And it's like grooves, you know, when you go over the same version path, after a while, there's a path, there's a groove in the feel so bad for these lions that they put in the zoos. You know, you see they have a huge cage, but they you see there is a path. I don't know if you've seen that. There's a path where they walk around and around because they're so used to run wild. And they form it like a path. The whole field inside the cage is green, but around the edges there's a path. It's heartbreaking to see that, but we do that ourselves, you know, within ourselves. We do that in our own psyche, in our own world, in our own space, in our relationships. To see, you know, we do it to each other too. We sometimes make the other walk through our conditions. You see, our how we want it, how we want it, but that's also luggage and baggage we're carrying around. So we wonder, is it possible not to want the other to be in any way? See? In a way, it's so respectful and so loving. Give him the complete freedom. It's theirs anyways. It's God-given in a way. It's not for us to give it or not give it. So yes, you do have the practice, and yes, the practice is there for you to, and it does solve and help in all your problems, but it's not the way we think about it in terms of like having a tool, you know. It's a comprehension. It's a way of sort of living, you know, living in our full responsibility, responding as in our fullness, in our wholeness, as being presence, in this moment, every moment, looking, seeing, wondering, or not. It's not like yeah, it's an interest. It's an interest in life as it truly is, not as we imagine it to be. And life as it truly is magical. It's the magic of this nowness, this presence, this beingness, the magic of awareness, of love. It's so tender of presence, the wisdom of presence, the intimacy of being, you see. So the problems, you know, in a way I could say, well, they're imaginary problems because they belong to the imaginary character. But these are just words. Of what use is that? To say, yeah, my problems are imaginary because I'm an imaginary being, you know, the me is imaginary. It's still going on, you see. So we live not just with these copycat formulations of life in the living comprehension of the teaching. So it's not about remembering anything. It's about an interest, our interest.
I like what you said the other day about trusting our forgetting more than we trust our remembering. I think you said that.
Yes, because in forgetting, we are there, we are here present, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about forgetting and we're trying to remember. That's different.
Right.
There is presence in the open space, the open space of presence. Sometimes, of course, we need to remember some things, but on the psychological level, we don't need to remember anything, right? Because what are we remembering? Images of each other? Can I meet you freshly? I like to meet you freshly, meet Tara freshly every moment, meet everything and everyone freshly every moment. No images, not a story. Because what's the point of meeting an image? Might as well I stay home and I have a relationship with you in my head about the images. When I meet you, I'm meeting you freshly. I'm meeting myself. I'm meeting you as myself freshly. You as myself, because in the meeting, like in this very moment, it's very intimate. It's the intimacy of one. It's some. I'm looking, speaking, listening simultaneously. It's all happening as one. And the other, in a way, is completely intimate in the conversation, in the relationship. This is an intimacy that defies the mind. And it's like, how could I hear you or you hear me if there wasn't an intimate connection? That it's like the connection of the sun, the light of the sun, and the heat of the sun. It's, psychologically, you don't need to remember anything. In fact, everything you need to remember comes to you. You need to remember where the keys of your car are. You will remember that. If you want to remember where you left your coat, you will remember that. If you need to remember your way home, you will remember that. And similarly, like in this sharing here, you don't need to remember anything. Whatever you need to remember arises for you. You may be walking downtown and then something comes to you about being, what is it to be fresh this moment? What is it to be, what is it, what is going on right now? What is it? Something may arise for you out of wherever it arises. It arises. There is no out of, it just arises. But definitely we don't need to remember all these images we have, and opinions and judgments and the past, and she did this and I did that, and why was regretting, why did I do this, why didn't I do this? So much of our energy can be consumed in that, right?
Yeah.
It can be exhausting. And what for? What for? It's a good question. Sometimes there is an inner drive to just keep foraging back in all this past stuff. We could see that. We can see it's important to see these tendencies, right? And because they're happening.
Yeah.
So we see them and say, wow, the power of that, you know? But there's also the light of seeing, the light that is perceiving that. It's like, it's as if there is a higher power in a way. I'm not trying to create like some godly realms or something like that.
Yeah.
But if something is perceived, even a powerful pattern, there is something that is perceiving that is bigger than it. I mean, that's just logically speaking. Perception is bigger than what is perceived. But anyways, we don't need to. So you can just sort of live with an interest in living that is not, it's not the rehashing of the past, you know. So it's not about some new spiritual persona, you know.
Mm.
Because it's just changing outfit. You change, you take one costume, you put on another costume.
Mm-hmm.
And you write on the YouTube channel, for the first time as you were speaking, I felt a beautiful expansion, like melting into everything, instead of being trapped within the body, separate and isolated. So wonderful, thank you. Well, I'm glad. Any questions?
Magdi?
Hello, Zoe.
Hi. I've been sitting a lot with the powerful Vasana that I spoke with you about last thought song, and just what became really clear was well, you talked about how there's no outer conflict. All conflict is inner conflict. And so me seeing these supposedly aggressive people, you know, when I sit with that, it became so clear, like in a different way, that my reaction to that aggression was keeping my imagined me in place. Like the fear reaction was what was making my identity real. Like it made my body feel solid. And so I've been sitting with that more, and then wondering about, okay, so the aggression is in me, I'm projecting it outwards. And but then my response in my body was fear. But really all conflict boils down to then just fear of the ego being dissolved.
Well, there speak about being in a situation where there is danger. You are walking in the forest and there is an animal that comes running in your direction. It's a possibility, and it's a hungry animal and it's bigger than you. And there's a possibility of a harm to the body. At that moment, there is no thought. There is no me and you, or there is just the dynamics of survival, running to the closest tree or to the closest shelter. And that happened too among the human beings. There are there are situations where some people come towards you with negative intention, and then you act in a certain way to come to safety, to arrive to safety. And it's not about protecting the image or the person or the persona or the psychology. There is none of that. It's just sort of at the DNA level. It's at the lion running after the deer. It's about the tiger and the hyena and the antelope. It's at that level. And there are no issues there. You may arrive, you may reach shelter safely, or you may not. But in terms of the emotions of fear and experiencing a certain negative emotion dynamics in certain situations. If it's something that is of short duration, meaning you encounter a certain situation that is aggression and you somehow survive it, and you feel for a certain period the energy of that. It happens in the animal kingdom too, where, for example, there are cases of antelopes that have been caught by the lion, but then somehow the lion, they are able to escape from the lion. They get up and they run. There is a moment where they shake their body out, as if they're shaking this stored energy out of their space, out of their body. That can happen also, within the human realm, where there is some sort of residue at the cellular level. There is something is stored from that situation, that's some sort of a temporary PTSD, and you experience that, and you sort of like shake it out of your being, but you will be experiencing this emotion. As long as it's of a short duration and you're out of it relatively quickly, it hasn't sort of rooted itself and is not feeding into the me that is in danger, or what happened to me, or how this happened to me, or oh my God, how I survived this. All of that. So, although you may experience a temporary emotional state as a result of a certain condition, certain situation, if it is prolonged, then it is referring to the me as this character in time and space, and it weaves itself into your sense of separation, your sense of victimhood, or your sense of survivor. Of course, it makes perfect sense to like run away from an animal that's chasing you. It makes perfect sense to move away from situations in your life that are not healthy. Because there are, not just in the animal kingdom, but among human beings, there are a lot of dysfunctional behaviors. We don't need to judge them, but they're there, you see. But if you find yourself for a prolonged time in such a situation, you want to be looking at that, finding a way around this. Now, having said all that, there is always something that we're learning, something that is being pointed out to us in our life, depending on how we are capable of looking at it. When we look at things from a distance, we don't perceive the details, we only perceive the general outline. But when we look really close, we may see some aspect of ourself that we may not be very clear, or we may not be aware of. But the interest is in looking, you see. So it's not in just protecting oneself, because that's, of course, that's at a different dimension. But there is another dimension, which is the interest in looking, in inquiring, investigating oneself. Because you cannot investigate another, really. You're investigating what is it within yourself that is involved, what's happening within yourself. What is it that you are? What are your assumptions, your beliefs? What are you bringing in that you're not seeing? What are your assumptions about yourself, about the other? A lot of stuff we don't see, you see, but we're interested because we are interested. There is an invitation for that to come up, to be seen. And there are aspects of ourselves, of ourself. We may have patterns within our persona that we're not aware of. Victimhood or arrogance, bullying. There are a lot of tendencies. I'm talking generically. And so sometimes we see some things repeating themselves in our life. And there are our story is repeating itself. We often act out of emotion. We make decisions out of our emotions. And you learn over time that you wish you hadn't. But we do, so it's not about beating ourselves up. It's just coming to more and more clarity about life, harmonious living.
So, Magdi, when I look at that, what are my assumptions? And then just like sit quietly and see what comes up, because yeah, some of the well, I can relate to all the things you mentioned: victimhood, arrogance, bullying, all those things. But just sit with um, what comes up and inquire.
It's dynamic. It's alive. It's not formulaic. So it's alive, you see. So it's not about applying any formula. And we don't know, like we could be in a certain situation, then when we wake up in the morning, it's a totally different situation, you see. The panorama can change internally and externally. So it's always about freshness and an interest in this moment. It's not about any other moment. It's this aliveness right now. And in this aliveness right now. It's not about trying to figure something out in time. Figure it out in this moment, and then it's gone, and it does what it does. It serves the purpose that it serves, whatever that is. Because ultimately, there is nothing at stake. But I don't want you to adopt that as a mantra. There are no formulas about living. And in fact, we have so many assumptions about life. But in this moment, it all dissolves, it all collapses, right? In this moment of presence. What can we assume? What? Nothing. It's just, it is what it is. There's now no words for it, right? But although there are no words to it, there is presence. There is the transparency of presence. So, and in this moment of let's say interaction, there are no images. There is no room for images. Because where would we fit them? It's just direct. It's direct. It's so intimate that there is no room to squeeze in anything else. It's full. It's already full. It's full of it's full of the whole. It's complete. It's whole. Nothing missing. There is no. So there's a certain wholeness to presence. Let me just put it another way. There is wholeness to presence. Presence is wholeness. You can sort of look into that. Look into it's complete in this moment. And it's completely transparent. You can discern what is happening right now. You can sense it because you are it. For example, right now there is peace, there is tranquility, there is love, there is looking. But it could be different if you were like somebody bullying at you. You can it's immediately, you can sense it immediately. It's moment by moment. And it can be as simple as if there is a lion running after you, you run away. It's like that, boom. There's no thinking about it. There is no need to make a story. Why did the lion chase me? Where did the lion come from? Who did, blah, blah, blah. Of course, after the fact, if in fact there is a lion running out here, we would wonder where did this lion come from. We would call the authorities to come in because we don't live in the jungle. But that also, that calling to authorities is also something that arises out of the present awareness of the thought that arises, wait a minute, this lion could be dangerous to the kids in the neighborhood. I need to immediately call somebody, right? All of that is happening in real time in this moment, this fresh moment of presence, of being. There are no formulas, you see. It's all alive, it's all dynamic, which is good. There's a freedom from needing a formula. A freedom from depending on a cane, on his support. Formula is a support in a way, a crutch. We don't need a crutch. Because within the crutch there is the assumption that there is somebody needing it. And all what's needed is available, like in this moment, what is missing? So on the other hand, if there is a situation in your life that you need to look at, I don't know, maybe there are some neighbors that move next to you and they play very loud music at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's something that you need to look at. You say, wait a minute, how can I approach that? Is there a way? What is the harmonious way? So you'll be looking at that. Various thoughts will come to you. One thought will be to take a stone and throw it at the window. You say, wait a minute, maybe that's not the most harmonious not the most harmonious way. I remember years ago, when I lived in Troy, New York, I was at the university, and you know, there was a student house. It was in the town, but there were like a lot of students that had rented the rooms on that street. And sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would open up the window and I would yell, "Hey, cut it out!" You know, because they were playing music at 2 o'clock in the morning, very loud, partying and smoking the big joint. You know, I had to. Sometimes it worked, you know, they got it. Because sometimes you forget there are neighbors, you know. You're having too much of a good time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes there are situations you have to look at them, and you know, then you're using a different part of your brain of like, you know, what are the various options? What are the drawbacks and the benefits of every option? And then you know, you will arrive to some you know, some decision. And it may work, may not work. We don't know.
Mm. Mm. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, Zoe. Well, everyone, thank you all. Very lovely to be with you. Okay, Douglas, Esther, Gabby, so everyone on the YouTube
Thank
channel.
you, Magdi.
Thank you all. Love you all.
Thank you.